Okay, it is getting ready. Setting it up. It might already be live. People might be hearing me say this.
Did you send the tweet out already?
No, not yet. I'm waiting till it's like going.
Tell me when to hit record on my tape recorder.
Yes, I have. Okay, we started. So let me tweet this. I haven't, it's not time to hit record yet. All right. Okay, so can you retweet my tweet?
Yes.
And I will retweet from Childish as well.
Okay. Will we know if anybody's listening?
We will. We'll be able, I can go into the chat room and look right now. Would you like me to?
Nope.
Hello, people. Yeah, there's some people watching. Oh, we got someone whose son is Owen. Okay, so I say let's record, and I say maybe at the end, if we have a couple minutes, we'll go into the chat room and see what people have to say and maybe answer a couple questions. Okay, let me turn this on. Let me do a quick sound check over here, actually. Hello, this is me talking. 1, 2, 3.
Check.
Okay.
1, 2.
Play that back. Okay, good. All right, I have started my recorder.
Okay, started mine.
I'm gonna do the clap. So 1, 2, 3. Great. Okay. Hang on, gotta get the music. Okay, here we go.
Childish, oh shit. Last time I checked, I was still a kid. Childish, childish. This all freaks me out a bit. Childish, oh shit. How can I parent when I'm still a kid? Childish, oh shit. Who the hell decided I was ready for this? Childish, oh shit. This is like a job that I cannot quit. Childish, oh shit. Maybe I should have gotten fixed.
Hey, I'm Greg Fitzsimmons.
I'm Allison Rosen.
Today, Childish is brought to you not only by your Libsyn, your Apple Podcasts, or your Stitcher, but
Your
also
Spotify.
We're also live streaming.
We are live streaming
for the first time.
For the very first time. Will we get canceled? Will there be a nip slip from Greg? Anything? Will your sack make an appearance? Anything could happen. I almost saw a nip.
What would it take? What would it really take for us to get canceled? You know?
It's an interesting question, because it's like, what would it take to immediately put us on the map and then take us off the map?
Right. Yeah.
I think any sort of slur.
Yeah.
The right kind of slur would do it.
Yeah.
I think something of an illegal nature.
What if we gave faulty advice about how to give CPR to a baby?
Well, it hasn't gotten us canceled yet. So
did we ever correct that? We corrected it, right?
We did. But remember, so we announced that we talked about it. It became very apparent that we didn't know what we were talking about. And then I was like, I don't think we should offer this advice because I don't trust what we're saying. And then you said we should challenge ourselves to be smarter, and we're gonna offer a correction on the next episode. And the correction I wanted to give, and this is a real cop-out, I'm gonna own that. The correction I wanted to give was go to Red Cross or go to, whatever website it was, because it was so complicated that I didn't feel comfortable being behind someone fucking it up. But then I think maybe we
should have those Childish refrigerator postings that tell you how to give CPR.
I have those. They're great. It was the best thing that came out of my infant CPR and other emergency class. And the worst thing that came out of that was I took it when I was very pregnant, and I left being like, this was a mistake to think that I can keep a child safe. Because they're like, your child can drown in an inch of standing water.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's very scary.
We had, I remember I was looking at TikTok because I love TikTok.
Yes, I do.
And there was a video that came up of a baby that was suffocating to death.
Oh my
And a
God.
woman was screaming, holding it out in the street. And a cop pulled up, and the cop ran up, and the woman was black and the baby was black. And you're like, all right, how are the cops going to fuck this one up?
Right.
And the white cop takes the baby and proceeds to just slap it on the back the right way and hold it the right way that dislodged what the baby was choking on, saved the baby's life. And I was like, I finally fucking reposted it. That was my first TikTok that I reposted because the
Wow.
cops have done a lot of fucked up stuff. They do a lot of good shit too.
Yes. I have a lot of questions.
Yeah,
Who filmed this?
that's true. Who stands by filming a baby choking to death? That's a weird job.
I have mixed feelings about things like that because so many of the dramatic real life moments we've seen, and well, I was going to say, and the videos of cops mistreating someone, but some of that is body cam stuff. But so much of what shapes our reality came from like someone sitting there and documenting it. But then when I think about the actual incident, I always think, who's the person who was just fucking documenting that and not trying to help?
Yeah, because there was also a video of suddenly like a bunch of kids are playing hoops and a cop, black kids, white cop pulls up and all of a sudden he starts playing hoops with them. And it's this beautiful moment and they make a video out of it. And then he becomes like kind of a local hero. He starts like working with some of the kids in the neighborhood and volunteering. And then these videos pop up of him beating the shit out of black kids from years earlier.
Oh my
And
God.
you're like, oh no, you too?
I was going to say, Greg, are you trying to curry favor with cops? But then your story took a turn.
No, I don't. Look, here's the problem with me is I don't necessarily, maybe it's not a problem with me. Maybe it's an asset is I don't jump on one side. I'm not opinionated as much as I get curious about things and I can switch sides frequently.
Yes, that is the genesis of a segment we don't do, but we kind of always do. Codependent Crossfire.
Codependent Crossfire. We got to bring that back.
Yes.
Where either one of us is capable of being talked out of our point of view by the other one in less than 30 seconds.
Yes, where we start on opposite sides and we end up on opposite sides, on our own opposite sides. So
no,
listen.
I don't know anymore. It seems like everybody's like got an opinion that they're so fucking absolute on and they're so resolute on. And I just think I don't get it. I don't understand
I don't either.
how to just be that convinced of yourself all the time.
I have the same problem, or maybe it's an asset of being, I think, overly diplomatic. And it's very easy for me to see both sides of things and to empathize with everyone. And I also don't understand how people can formulate hot takes like right away.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily about being diplomatic. That's different. That's like maybe codependent or something. I'm talking about more of just in my mind, not
Kettle
being
black.
not not being able to come to a conclusion, without it changing,
Right. Are you decided on how you feel about the death penalty?
Well, I think we need compromise on it. Like, we live in California where it's legal, but yet there's like some mandate where they're not allowing it right now because we're like ultra conservative, but we're also like bleeding heart liberal Hollywood. And I just think, why can't we compromise? What about a solar powered electric chair? Right? Just picture some guy in a field strapped into a chair with a panel over his head. Dude, when those clouds roll out, you're a dead man.
Yes, that is something I think a lot of us in California could get behind.
Yeah, I see it both ways. I can't.
Speaking of the environment, Greg, this was potentially going to be my low, but luckily I've had the kind of week where I have multiple lows, so I can just oscillate through them. It's okay. But I currently have 7 mosquito bites.
Oh.
Are the mosquitoes eating you alive in Venice?
That was one of the things that when I moved to California, there was an agreement.
Among you and the bugs?
There's no cockroaches, there's no mosquitoes, there's no humidity. There were a number of things I was promised for this very high real estate prices and all the downsides of California. Those were the ones I was counting on. And now suddenly mosquitoes.
Smog, career craziness, not a lot of land.
Right.
Vapid people.
And now mosquitoes, I just read an article about it, have been introduced into the Los Angeles area.
Okay. I was texting with someone from my hometown about, I lead a fascinating life. We were texting about mosquitoes, and I was saying that like, they're just popping up on me, and I don't understand how they're popping up because I was wearing pants yesterday and they're like on my knees unless I got bitten in the night and they show up later. And she's like, yeah, I don't know how it works. This is a serious topic. You should do she said, you should do a podcast about it. And I wrote back, ha ha. She's like, this is a serious topic. How did they get here? And I don't know if she means like, how did like a conspiracy thing. But so now when you say they've been introduced to LA, who introduced them?
Again, when I said read an article, I read the headline in my feed, but I will look into it. Next week, I will have a book report on how the mosquitoes got into our pristine fucking, look, we've got brown recluse spiders. We've got black widow spiders. We've got rattlesnakes. There's a bunch of shit that's bad, but we don't have cockroaches and mosquitoes. And now
there was a cockroach like this big, and if you're watching on youtube.com/Allison Rosen, you can see how big that is. Like an inch, 2 inches, an inch and a half. We found it by our washing machine in my house.
That's a water bug. That's not a cockroach. That's a water bug.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Here's the weird thing. It like flapped its wings and like lifted off the ground for a little while. And so we were all like, but they don't fly.
Yeah, cockroaches don't fly.
Well, but do water bugs look just like cockroaches?
Yeah, but bigger.
Okay, maybe that is what it is. Well, I don't want them either. They're just as bad. And here's the funny thing. It was my brother-in-law who was able to handle it, because both Daniel and I like took a swing and we're like, nope, no can do. This is too gross. So
now mosquito bites they're the worst because I don't know what the treatment is, except when I get one, I take my fingernail and I make an X. I make an X on it. And that helps a little bit. My
dad is this like an East Coast thing? Because I remember growing up hearing about my dad talking about scoring the mosquito bite. So there is a device, not a sponsor. I don't even know if I can endorse it, but it's called the bug bite thing. It almost looks like a tiny corkscrew, and it's got like a handle and suction on one end. And when you get a bite, you're supposed to place it over the bite, and then you pull the levers, and it just suctions your skin, and it's supposed to pull the venom out. So I've been doing it on my bites. I'd say they're a little bit better, but I'd heard this is like life-changing, and I'm still itching and I'm still angry.
Jesus.
Yeah. Listen, I think we should read a review that we got. I was gonna say a comment, but it's a review that's also a comment on Apple Podcasts, because we love to hear from you guys and it helps out the show so much. So Troy DG82 says, and the headline is, and I don't quite get it, although I feel like maybe it's something obvious, Fruit Dog and Garfield. When I heard about this show, I knew it would be good, but it exceeds expectations. These two podcast veterans have amazing chemistry. I'm a single father and I get good advice ideas from listening. Thanks, guys. I love it. Now, I don't know why I'm Garfield, but I'll go with it. And then Catherine Race. And did we already read this one? I don't know. Love this podcast. My husband and I started listening to this right before we started trying to get pregnant. And now our baby boy is 6 months old. We love Greg and Allison and all their funny stories of parenthood. We tell all of our friends about this podcast. That you are doing it right. Thank you. Please leave a comment wherever you listen. I would recommend Apple Podcasts, apple.co/childish. Also, if you would like to call us, our phone number, not right, I mean, you can call us right now, but it's going to go to voicemail. 805-317-4243. Again, that's 805-317-4243. Email us childishpod@gmail.com and follow us on Twitter and Instagram @childishpod. All right, Greg, how are you doing? Because I listened to your podcast, it was very good.
Yeah.
And you were talking about how you've been down lately, but you said that you weren't going to go into it on the show.
So you think I'll go into it on this show?
So I thought this is a good opportunity for you to go into it.
No, I mean, put me on the spot.
I know.
I'd say I'm doing better. I'm
Okay,
doing
good.
better. Yeah. It's like it's hard with the pandemic. You get some thoughts in your head. It's harder to get them out because there's less things to distract you. You sit with those
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Meditation and exercise. That's the key.
And that's been helping you?
That's been helping.
But also the brain zapping? Like, where are you with all of having done that? The
I think the brain
transcranial
zapping, which was the transcranial magnetic stimulation. I think that reset my baseline a little bit on my depression. I wouldn't dissuade somebody from trying that. It's expensive and it's time consuming, but if you've got some time and some dough and nothing else is working, it's for people with treatment resistant depression. So you've tried pharmacological solutions and you've tried, exercise and cognitive behavioral therapy and things like that aren't working, then you can try it. And I found some success with it.
And now, if I remember correctly, you said you were questioning, like after some time, you were questioning, did it really work? Did it have lasting effects? But your wife said that she definitely thinks it helped.
Yes. I mean, it's hard because when you have depression, you don't have a very
You can't trust
objective
yourself.
kind of gauge of where you're at and how long it's lasting. The hardest thing about depression is it really does feel like it's going to last forever when
Yes.
you're in it. And so it really does help. The last thing you want to do when you're depressed is reach out and talk to anybody.
Mm-mm.
But sometimes when you do, they can remind you that, this isn't how you always feel and that you feel like this sometimes and then it goes away after X period of time. And that can help you get on your feet again. So, talk to people.
Your thoughts become distorted, but you're never more sure that they're accurate than when at least I'm not. I'm never more sure it's accurate than when I'm depressed. I'm like, now I'm really seeing how things really are.
Right.
It's kind of, and also it's sort of interesting the way when one is, I think when you're depressed, you think like, I'm alone. I'm the only one who feels that way. And it's so interesting to learn that with any sort of mental illness, it is a disease. Like in the same way that colds run a typical course, depression pretty much runs a typical course. Like most depressed people have similar thoughts. They have similar symptoms, but it makes you feel like you're experiencing this unique thing that sets you apart.
Yes. And I think what's unique about it also is that it can be triggered by circumstances, but a lot of times those circumstances can be very small and the reaction to it can be very large because it's not really about the circumstance and it feeds on itself. So, the thing that there's some books that are really great that can help you retrain your brain so that when you start to go down that path, you can reframe it and say, you're doing all or nothing thinking right now, or you're using magnification. There's all these different ways, different instances that you look at it and you say, this is what your brain is tricking you with right now.
Right.
And here's how you write it. Yeah.
You know what your brain's not tricking you
What's
with?
that?
If your brain tells you that Rockets of Awesome is the way that you should get clothing for your kids, your
Oh,
brain is
right.
definitely look, shopping for my kids just got 10 times easier and better thanks to my latest obsession, Rockets of Awesome, a magical box of kids' clothes delivered straight to your door each season 4 times a year. Rockets of Awesome designs the coolest kids' clothes. They have size 2 through 14 with special details and super soft fabrics that your kids will want to wear every day, plus quality you can depend on. Some of my favorite clothes of Elliot's and his favorite clothes are Rockets of Awesome. Super soft, like very colorful, stylish t-shirts. There's no tag. It's just the info that would be on the tag is just printed on the back, which is great because tags can be irritating. Rockets of Awesome is a game changer for your family. Your kids won't be able to wait to see what's inside their personal box. You get incredible value for high quality clothes, all from the comfort of your home. And if you keep everything in your box, you save up to 45%, just incredible savings. The larger the box, you can get 5, 8, or 12 items, the bigger the savings. There's unique features like flip sequins, glow in the dark details, 3D graphics, super comfortable. And you just it's super easy. You can control everything that comes in the box. You take a quiz and then they figure it out, and then you can choose what to keep, what not to. It's a magical shopping experience that your kids and you will love. Rockets of Awesome makes shopping for kids' clothes easy, convenient, and actually quite fun for the whole family. Take their quiz, and I love a quiz, and sign up today risk-free at rocketsofawesome.com/childish. Use promo code childish for 20% off your first box. That's rocketsofawesome.com/childish and use promo code childish. Again, rocketsofawesome/childish. Promo code childish. I say we do some news. What say you?
I'm ready. And I
Okay.
think I deserve some kind of prize for holding my tongue during that read. All right, news.
Well, wait, hang on.
Time for the news.
All right.
Marijuana use while you're pregnant can have an effect on your child. Child will more likely to suffer sleep problems as much as a decade later, according to a new study
Wow.
from the University of Colorado Boulder, where
They
I
have
think
vested
there's
interest.
a lot of
Yeah.
subjects to tests.
I don't
There's
know
a
if
control
I
group and
I
there's
don't
a
know
study
if I
group.
trust this one.
The control group is 3 women. And they say that they have developmental problems, that it impacts their sleep cycles. So, comes a time when, the number of pregnant women drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes has declined in the United States, but it has risen 7%. Pot use has risen 7% among pregnant women as legalization spreads. And dispensaries are recommending it for morning sickness.
Yeah, see, I don't know about that. I received just like a CBD lotion that a friend of mine swears by. And I remember asking my OB while I was pregnant, can I use that? And he's like, we recommend against CBD because we just don't know yet.
Yeah.
Like even a lotion. So dispensaries should not be dispensarying that advice.
Yeah, I guess maybe the women are so high they don't notice that their kids are awake, So the problem isn't really a problem, not for the parents.
Right.
But I find that weed actually helps me sleep a lot. There was a while where I used to take sleeping pills every night for years.
Did it make you logy the next day? Because that's my problem with any sleep anything, is that it makes me I just want to crawl back into bed all day the next day.
Yeah, so I wanted to get rid of that feeling, and so somebody suggested smoking pot, so I smoked pot every night before bed for a year, and it really worked. I would have one hit.
Wow.
Literally just one big long hit, and it was just enough to kind of, I don't know, made everything soft and gentle.
But you don't do it anymore?
No.
How come?
I didn't want to be addicted to anything. I mean, I have a pretty healthy relationship to pot. For
Mm.
somebody that hasn't had a drink in 30 years, I really, I like to have fun with pot once in a while, but I don't want it to be something that I get like addicted to.
Right. So how's your sleep now?
It's not bad. Now I take melatonin every night.
And how do you know how much you take? Because I was
10
taking it.
milligrams. Oh no,
Oh.
5.
And you find it helps you.
Helps a lot. Yeah.
I remember someone recommending that to me a while ago, and I was like, this isn't doing anything. But in the last few times I took it, I did feel like it helped.
The
So-
worst though is like I took it, I think it was last night. I took it last night before I went to bed, and then I get a phone call from Owen, and he wanted a ride home. And Aaron was already like asleep, and I was like, fuck, I can't drive on this. So I went and I woke up Jojo, because I knew Aaron had to get up in the morning and Jojo didn't. And I sent Jojo to go pick up Owen.
It must be nice to have two kids that drive in that. Wait, does Owen not drive? Or he just
He didn't have the
his
car
car?
with him.
Yeah.
I think because if he's gonna have a couple beers, he won't take a car.
You have good kids.
They're good kids.
You
Yeah.
have good kids. Listen, I just realized something. This
What?
is the behind the scenes stuff that people are paying nothing to watch. I'm on the wrong internet, and I feel like our internet is fine, but I am wondering what effect it might be having, and I feel like I should switch to the better internet. Now, the last time I did this, it didn't interrupt anything, but
Well,
if
it seems fine to me.
I know, should I just keep going? It's
Yeah, I
like,
think you just keep going, because God forbid it like knocks something out, like the recording or anything like that.
the last time I did it, it was seamless. Okay. I mean, the question is just like on YouTube, is it all skippy or anything like that? Since we're taking this tiny little break to discuss this, let me just go look and see if everyone's like, yeah, we can't. This is terrible.
Yeah. By the
Okay.
way, if you are listening live, that's exciting. I know because we used to put the show up on YouTube, but we thought let's be different and let's have people watch it live.
Yeah. Okay, good. People are saying, keep going, keep going.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so it's good.
All right.
Not skippy. Okay, cool. Hi, everyone.
You had a news story, didn't you?
I sure do. So a dad who's on social media has invented something called the safety shake as an alternative to hugs in the pandemic. And it has gone viral. So this guy, his name is, I think it's Jason Harris. He created the TikTok craze bored in the house. I don't know what that is. I'm not
Bored in the house and I'm in the house bored. Bored in the house and I'm in the house bored. Bored in the house and I'm in the house bored. Bored in the motherfucking house.
Okay, I forgot that I have the #1 user of TikTok
Yeah.
on this show that I hosted with him. Okay, so you know who this guy is then?
Well, I know
He-
the song. It plays on a lot of videos.
Okay, well, he created something called the safety shake, and a rapper who I'm trying to find his name has recorded it. And it's going viral too. You'll probably know this song very soon. A colorful campaign video illustrated by musician and artist Young and Sick is making its way around the internet. So the way you do the safety shake is you double tap your heart and then you extend your hand in a way that feels uniquely yours, be that with a bow or by pointing. And the video narrator says, as long as you're doing it from the heart, you're doing it right. So you double tap your heart and then you do like something, I don't know. Here's my problem with it.
It sounds very 80s, like, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yes, like where you do like some hand slappy thing and then turn around and snap.
Yeah.
My problem is this reminds me of being in an improv class and like, I'm going to throw you something imaginary and then you have to do something with it and then throw it to someone else. Or like, we're going to go around and say our names in a unique way. It's like zip, zap, zop, which I barely remember. But anyway, this thing of like being put on the spot to like, you double tap your heart and then you point or whatever and extend your hand in a way that feels uniquely you. I don't want to have to make that calculation 400 times a day. I just want us all to do it the same.
I feel like something is missing though, because I think I told you I went and did a stand-up show the other night and there was a bunch of comics there, and my inclination was when I saw the Sklar brothers to hug those motherfuckers and there was a bunch of people that I really loved that I saw there. Erica Rhodes, and I didn't hug them, and I felt like, and I didn't shake their hands, and it felt awkward and empty. So I feel like I like what this guy's going for.
Mhm.
It's not it, but we
Right.
need to start wrapping our heads around it because, you know,
Was there an awkward moment where you guys like almost did something and then
yes,
stopped?
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
What was the show that you did? And how was it doing comedy again? And
Oh, it was amazing. I hadn't
class?
done it. It was 5 months to the day that I had done comedy. It was March 14th was the time before, and then this was August 14th. And it was this show that Tom Papa.
Mhm.
Well, he does some kind of YouTube show, and so he asked me if I'd come out and do it, and it was great. It was like Bob Saget and the Sklar and Kirk Fox, and you go out, and there's 15 or so people in the audience, and they all have on masks, and everything's hand sanitizer. Everybody's spread out. They give you your own microphone. Each performer has their own microphone
Oh, that's
that
smart.
they bring up, and then they plug in, and then you take it with you when you leave. And then at the end of the show, they were like, everybody keep your microphones and bring them to whatever shows you do in LA from now on, probably forever. I really think that for the next few years, I think every comedian is going to walk on stage and plug in his or her also microphone to do
But
comedy.
women aren't funny.
Well, that's why they need a microphone. They got to make that shit loud. Now there's so many funny women right now in LA. It's crazy. I mean, there was a time when it was so dominated by men, it was crazy.
Mhm.
And it's still dominated by men, but you're starting to see more and more women and killing just as hard as men, which, is it just because they're getting the stage time they weren't getting before.
Right.
And so it's good. And yeah.
I have heard female comedians say for a woman to like make it into the big leagues, she has to be so good to like compete, to sort of swim upstream, to get noticed. She has to be so good that by the time women get there, they're like so finely honed. And then I've heard the opposite, which is people are trying, people want more female comedians. And so they're like getting shots before they're ready. Does either of those seem accurate to you?
Well, I think the first thing you said is how it used to be. And then maybe now it's a little bit more of the second thing you said. I think that there's a strong push for diversity, racial diversity, LGBTQ diversity in comedy. And, there's a lot of straight white men that are upset right now because we're not getting the 1 hour specials. That's for sure. Like it's very difficult as a guy to get one right now, but it was not hard. It was easier for us forever until 4 years ago. So, it's tough. It's a tough situation, but I think you got to take a breath and take a step back and understand that change happens, and it can be a little clunky at first, and it maybe doesn't seem fair to everybody, but you got to remember that it wasn't fair before either. So
I think you have a really good attitude about it. I've definitely heard from men who are just angry about it. And
I'm
I guess,
angry. Look, I'm
yeah.
angry. I mean, the truth is, like, I was ready for a 1 hour special, and I spent the last year trying to sell it. I couldn't even get it looked at. I mean, just categorically who I am, I couldn't get it looked at. And it made me angry, but so you get angry. But then your mind, you sit with it and you say, well, what's the alternative? That things stay the way they are?
Right.
They shouldn't really stay the way they are. I think the audiences are going to respond or not respond. And then I think there will be corrections made, because if you have too many people that haven't put in the time, I mean, I've been doing it 31 years. And then if you have somebody that, because of their race or their gender, gets a special at, like the woman who was doing the Trump impressions, she was lip syncing Trump.
Oh, Sarah Cooper.
Like,
I actually think I like
she's
her,
been-
but I don't know her other stuff.
But she's been doing comedy 5 years, and now she has a 1 hour special on Netflix. Like,
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing where you go, like, that may not be I don't know. Who knows? She could surprise me and have an hour of amazing material. That would be unusual.
Right.
So we'll see how things all settle out.
Listen, I have another news story. It comes from Parents Magazine, I believe. And what they say is the kitchen is where you should create the working classroom. If your kid is doing virtual learning, you might be thinking like, oh, you put them in their room. That's what I would think. I would think they should have a desk in their room and that's where they should be set up. But this story says that the kitchen could be the best place. Many students actually find it easier to focus in a common space. This is says Alexandra Maisler, founder of Thinking Caps Group, a tutoring specialist company. When a child sits alone in their room and hears activities going on downstairs, the sounds are distracting. At the kitchen table, seeing that other family members are working, siblings doing homework, a parent cooking dinner can motivate them to keep chugging. And then plus you're there nearby if they have questions or if you need to like refocus your child. And then they have some advice about how to turn the kitchen into a good classroom. So keep the surface clear, minimize distractions, carve out personal space. And this is sort of surprising. To improve focus, give each child a cardboard partition. What? And then separate each kid's supplies. What do you think about that?
Wait, a cardboard partition? How does,
okay.
What does that
to
look
improve,
like?
I know, it's like to improve focus, give each child a cardboard partition. You can make your own from a cardboard box.
Is this like in Vegas, how they got partitions between each gambler at the blackjack table?
I know, it seems like the sneeze guards that are now up everywhere. We also like the dividers used in standardized testing because they are inexpensive and fold flat for easy storage in a class. This is like, do you remember the study carrels in libraries in college or in high school?
No.
It was like a little desk that had partitions around it. I could never study well in them because it's like a little hood.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That's sort of what that reminds me of. I don't know where's JoJo? Has she started school?
Well, she does virtual learning where she learns virtually nothing. And we have to change that. We need to get her out of her room because she sits on her bed and I know she's got her phone right there. And she's, I just think she doesn't do well alone. I think she would be better at the kitchen table, but trying to get her to sit there, she's very difficult to tell what to do.
Is that her or her age?
That's her. She's a very strong person who pushes back hard on things that she doesn't want to do to where you just finally go, fuck it, which is our style of parenting. It's called fuck it.
That's how the kids got there and that's how you're raising them.
That's right.
I have had a parenting realization in the last few days, which is if Elliot is whining about something, regardless of whether it's right or not, I tend to want to appease him to make the horrendous noise go away.
Yeah.
And it really is like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Or that advice, like I've heard women in labor, the advice, like if you are in labor and they haven't brought you into your room yet, if you're in, the sort of like the check-in area, just make a huge racket and bother everyone until they finally get you to your room. If you want to get a nurse's attention, like just bug them. And that's the opposite of what my instinct was. My instinct was these people have a lot of power over me, so I'm just going to be like super quiet and nice. And that's kind of how I've always been my whole life. And then I watch these like annoying people get what they want. And now that I'm a parent, I'm realizing that the math I'm doing isn't initially, it isn't, is it right? Is it fair? Is it right? Is it fair to Owen? The initial math is just like, I want to make Elliot stop this sound. So I'll do whatever he wants. And like, I'm glad I've caught myself, but it's interesting how much I'm motivated by wanting to just have peace.
Yes, it's probably one of the biggest issues in parenting is whether or not you take the path of least resistance or whether you dig in to a situation you just want to be over,
right?
And have your kid not take a lesson away from it, or get into a dynamic where they know they can manipulate you.
Right.
And so in the long run, it's worse for you and them. But at the same time, when it's the end of the day and you're trying to cook and whatever, the million things going on. So, I mean, it seems like the advice I've always heard is just that you try not to get emotional. You try not to let them see you get emotional.
Mhm.
And you try to explain to them calmly that they're not going to get what they want, and then to somehow ignore them and not react. But
Not
good luck with that.
indulge.
That's fucking hard.
It's really hard. Like today, our nanny we have like an inflatable outdoor pool. I think I mentioned it.
I thought you say you have an inflatable nanny. I was like, wait a minute, is that what Daniel's telling you that is?
Yeah, she's just her mouth is open because she's telling them what to do.
Yeah, and she looks surprised that they're doing it.
We have an inflatable pool, and Elliot wanted to stay in. Elliot didn't want to play with her and Owen. He wanted to stay inside and be with Daniel and me. And we were like, okay, which already there's a question of like whether we should do that, but I figure what the hell. But then I was in the other room and I came in and he was just crying because she was outside filling up the inflatable pool with Owen, and he didn't want them playing in the pool. It wasn't, he just didn't want them to play in the pool. And I'm like, it's okay if they go in, but it's not, they can't. And I'm like, do you want to go in? No, not yet. It wasn't any sort of logical thing of like, he didn't want, I don't know what it was. He just didn't want them to.
Yeah.
And I sat, and this went on for a long time, and I sat there thinking, I don't know that Owen really wants to go in that pool. I think he'd be fine if I just went out there and was like, you know what, why don't you guys play with some? But I didn't, because I didn't want to give into it like that.
Yeah.
But I was very tempted to, because Elliot was like, I don't know. I don't know. Should we do some highs and lows?
Let's do some highs and lows.
Okay.
I believe you started last week.
Then I should start second, and that is not called starting. Hang on. I should go second.
Lows.
All right.
All right. So my high is that I was challenged to a fight and I accepted. And I will be fighting my old podcast producer, John Matthews, boxing. We're going to have on boxing gloves. And Jason Ellis, the Jason Ellis Show?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, Jason, we were on the air, and he a while ago, he wanted me to fight John Matthews. And I love John Matthews, and I would never want to hurt him. And so I said no. And then I keep trying to get my hard drive back from John. He was my producer for like fucking 6 years, 7 years maybe. Great producer and just a lovely human being. But he had my hard drive, and it had all my old episodes, every photo I've ever taken with a guest, all my sound effects for the show. It had all kinds of passcodes. Everything to do with the show was on this hard drive. And for a year and a half, he's not been my producer. And I've been trying to get this thing. Every month, I ask him again, will you mail me the fucking hard drive? And yeah, sure, I'll do it. And he doesn't do it. He's driving me fucking crazy. So then I was on Ellis's show this week, and Ellis goes, so when are you going to fight John Matthews? I go, I'll tell you what, if you can get my hard drive from John, I will fight him. I said, I don't know if that's motivation for him to keep the hard drive or to give it to me, but I feel like you have a power over John that will get the hard drive, and that's all I want. So the next day, and I should show you the clip.
I saw it actually, because you retweeted it, right?
Yeah. So the next day, there's a video clip of John Matthews and Ellis, and they're holding up the hard drive, saying that the fight is on. So that was last night. So this morning, I woke up at about 7 o'clock, and I ran 2 miles. I ran to the beach and back. And then me and Aaron went on a 4-mile, very hilly hike. And then I went in the ocean and I swam for like 20 minutes, which is a lot for me. And it's on. I don't know when the fight is. We haven't worked out the details yet, but I'm 54 years old. He's probably late 30s. I found out after the fact, I found out that he's been training for a year or two in boxing.
All for this fight with you over the hard drive?
No, he had one other fight in his career because Jason has these big events where
Right.
he has people box each other. And so John had one match before, which he lost, but he was fighting a guy who was like 50 pounds heavier, who was in his 20s. And he made a pretty good showing of it. And he's been training really hard ever since. So now I cannot lose to John Matthews. It can't happen.
Is this like you guys are going to wear boxing gloves and do it in a ring?
Yeah.
When is this going to happen?
I don't know, but I'm going to be working out every single day until it happens.
Well, this is good. This is like giving your quarantine focus.
That's why it's my high. My working out has been so sporadic and so half-ass. And now, I mean, look what I've done in one day. And I'm probably doing push-ups when I get home.
That's great.
And then I may throw a move on the wife.
That's right, because you're all man right now.
All man.
All thanks to Jason Ellis, who's also all man.
I'm about to get this show canceled because I'm starting to get an erection right now.
Oh, no. Oh, definitely don't. I was going to say definitely don't show it, which is like a weird, that almost, I'm going to get canceled too.
Yeah.
Okay, no boners. We have a no boners policy. Anyway, my high, I'm just putting some time in between that statement and this story I'm going to tell. My high is lately I have been sitting in a chair with both kids. We have two chairs that accommodate me and both kids. And for some reason, like oftentimes when I'm sitting with, it just hasn't happened that much that I would sit with both of them, but lately they've both wanted to get into a chair with me. And when I'm sitting there with one arm around each of them, it is like, I just go into this like, happy state. It is like, and it makes me think all that shit that bounces around my brain is unimportant. This is what matters. It like instantly reprioritizes. It's like the best gravity blanket. And it's just it's like a physical thing. I don't know. It's like, I don't know if my body's secreting oxytocin or dopamine or whatever it is, but it's just makes me feel so happy and content. Don't tell them that or they'll stop.
Well, how do they feel? Are they like very calm? Is it a calming thing for them? Are they reading books or what's happening?
When it's good, they seem to be calm. The problem is it feels like having a tiger by the tail because they can turn like in a second and then all of a sudden they're like slapping each other. Or Owen is doing this thing lately. He thinks it's so funny to just all of a sudden he'll like buck back and throw his head back really hard. And then he'll start like wagging his head back and forth really hard. And when this happened, and I'm always like, thank God my chin wasn't right there. And when it happens, I'll like sort of put my arm up to block Elliot from getting headbutted. And then, Elliot will put his hand up and then Owen will keep like bonking his head into Elliot's hand. The thing is, it feels like it can turn violent suddenly.
Yeah, right.
Which is part of why, like, I think one of my early lows when I had just had Owen was I was holding Owen and Elliot wanted to get up in the chair, but he was too little to get into the chair by himself. And I couldn't do it with one arm. And then he got upset and he slapped Owen. And I felt really guilty because I felt like I should have seen that coming. So now we're at a point where we can all do it, but still they're unpredictable. I've been reading books to Owen a lot lately because I think I've mentioned he's a year and a half and he only has a few words. Like Elliot was much more further along than Owen is talking wise. And I think it's still within the realm of normal, but I can't help but wonder like what's going on. Why is he on the later side to start talking? What's going on? But he seems to understand it. So anyway, I've been making an effort to read books with him. And so when I'm reading a book with him, then it's always when we're like winding down to get sleepy. And then Elliot will want to get in the chair. And then that revs Owen up. Then he thinks it's time to play. So that's not my favorite, us all sitting in a chair. What's your low?
My low is I did a podcast this week, which I won't name. and the podcaster, you know, and
You were
I
a guest?
I was a guest, and it was a younger podcaster, and you know, and I respect in a way that they're trying to grit their teeth a little bit. They're trying to be edgy, and
Mm.
so he's coming at me with like, "So what was it like working on Ellen DeGeneres' show for 2 years?" And
Ah,
I was like, "Yeah, I have a non-disclosure agreement." He goes, "Yeah, but everybody's talking about it. Was she, was she?" And he said the C word, and I was like, "Well, you know, non-disclosure agreement, whatever." And it just it kept going on, and it really was like, and it happened early in the interview, so I didn't really even want to fucking
continue,
engage.
yeah.
I was just like, this guy's kind of being a dick. But then I remembered, like, well, I was kind of like, I wasn't like that, but I was definitely always trying to poke. I was trying to get something out of my guests, like
Right.
you in this podcast asked me about being depressed. You try to get something. You know, you try to stir it up a little bit.
Um,
I'm not saying
But
what you did was bad. I'm
I
saying
know.
what you did was what you and I do to each other, which is I think
Yeah.
we try to find something that's raw a little bit, and I think because we trust each other, we can
Raw
go
and
there. But I
right,
don't
raw,
know this guy.
right, just raw and real and honest. I mean, I thought that maybe you would want to talk about it. So I wasn't really trying to like get something out of you as much as I was like, let's talk about what's real.
Right.
But
Right.
I feel like whereas this guy was like, I want to get a soundbite out of you, or I want to like
Exactly.
razz you.
Exactly. And he wants to be the edgy guy. And so and look, the truth is there's a lot coming out about Ellen right now. And at a certain point I'll talk about it. I can only say that you know, I can't disagree with a lot of the stuff that former employees are saying. That's not foreign to me, that kind of energy that
Mhm.
people are describing. And I don't think if I say much more than that, literally I will get a call from my lawyer saying that they were contacted by somebody from the show. So
Right.
I got to just leave it at that. So that was my low, because then I was stuck in this fucking interview for like another whatever it was, half an hour.
How was it? And I don't know who this is, but I hope you'll tell me off air. But how was it at, like afterwards? Like, were you upset? Were you angry?
Nah, I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's just that it made me feel like I'm not gonna have fun now.
The
It was
thing,
still
right.
enjoyable, but it wasn't like fun.
The thing about trying to get something from someone is I feel like it's fairly well known that you do it at the end
Yes.
because it's going to change the whole feeling of the interview.
Yeah, it was a rookie move. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't open with it.
Although I remember hearing a reporter, I mean, and I know that from back in my print journalism days, I remember hearing a reporter say he likes to lead with the question because if the person like hangs up on you or walks out, then wow, what a story. And I remember
Yeah.
thinking, that's a real short story though. Like
Yeah,
you didn't
right.
get anything. You just have that one. Okay. So Milo, this is something that has come up before that I've talked to you about, Greg. And it is Daniel and my difference of opinion about Elliot's hair. And it's weird. We both have so much energy behind it. It's like an issue that both of us are trying to figure out, like, why do I feel so strongly? Why does he feel so strongly? Elliot right now has like very long hair. And it is too long to be comfortable. And you know, we're constantly having to like put it in like little ponytails or just do things with it. But in general, I think it looks good longer on the longer side. He feels like it should be short. Elliot doesn't really have an opinion yet. Like, you know, we'll say, do you want a haircut? And he'll say yes. And then it's like, do you want a haircut? No, he kind of goes back and forth. There is a place that we used to take him to get haircuts where I feel like she did a good job of, but I don't want to take him to an actual facility. So maybe Daniel's like learning how to cut hair, and maybe he'll cut his hair, or maybe we'll have someone come to the house and do it. I don't know. But Daniel's like, could you just explain to me? And by the way, I don't know if he's watching right now. If he is, I hope he's okay with me sharing this. He's like, could you just explain to me why it is so important to you that he doesn't have short hair? And I'm like, could you just explain to me why it's so important to you that he doesn't have long hair? Basically, he feels like until Elliot indicates a preference for how he wears his, because obviously Daniel wants Elliot to wear his hair however he wants. I've lost you.
Sorry, my phone was ringing on the other side of the office. I had to go turn it off. It
Oh,
was
that's
your
okay.
friend. It was your friend Zach Galifianakis.
I love him.
I almost took it, but all right.
Oh,
so
you
what?
should.
All
Okay.
right, so what happened?
This story pales in comparison to us having heard Zach.
I know. I should have answered the goddamn phone.
I know. Anyway, long story short, Daniel feels like, obviously, however Elliot wants to wear his hair is how he can wear his hair. But until he indicates a preference, we should sort of default to like what's common so that he doesn't look back on pictures from this time and go, why were you raising me androgynous?
Right.
And I feel like he has his whole life to look like a tiny banker, to like fit in and conform. Like, why foist that on him? That's how we both feel so strongly about it. Again, I don't feel like he needs to have like long flowing luscious locks like he has right now, but I don't see why we want to give him like, a 1-inch haircut or whatever. Yeah. And I didn't think I would feel this way because I remember seeing people who had sons with like little young sons with long hair and feeling like that's a choice you're foisting on them. Like, is that how they want their hair? And yet now I find that like there's something that hurts my soul about giving him a real short haircut.
I think it almost like goes back to what we were talking about earlier when you think about the control that you can have over your kid and doing what's best for them. It's like,
Right.
I think it's almost a metaphor for like how much you can affect their outcome and who they are as a person. So I could see that being a negotiation between two parents.
Right. It's funny. I see his long hair as his quote unquote natural state. And I don't want to like clip his wings or trim that.
Right.
And I think Daniel sees short hair because Daniel has short hair and I have long hair. I mean, Daniel sees short hair as like a more natural thing. And we're like foisting this sort of androgynous style on him.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's my low.
Okay.
But okay. So we could take a voicemail, we could do an email or two, or we could read some responses to our social media question of the week.
Why don't we there's a couple of emails that I thought were interesting.
Okay.
There's one that you sent me in particular. Do we need a little sting for mail?
We sure do.
You wrote.
By the way, I don't think I ever explained who the person is who's saying you rang and you wrote. It's this guy Ian Brennan, who is one of the creators of Glee and also one of the creators of The Politician and other shows like that. And I was a guest monologist on, that's what they call it, on this improv show, and he was one of the improvisers, and he did this character who spoke in that voice. So then when you and I were talking about stings, you were like, what if it's like an old-fashioned telephone and then you hear someone say you rang, and I'm like, I know the perfect guy, and I contacted him, and he sent me those, and they're great.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So emails.
So this one comes from Celeste. She says, good afternoon. I think I am happily married, but I can't stop fantasizing about getting a divorce. I like my husband and enjoy being around him, but I dream about being alone. I just feel like I'm done with this. But then I hang out with him and I enjoy our time together. It sounds like me. Can't make a decision.
Right.
I feel like it may be prudent to mention that we are both essential workers, so our lives have not changed by COVID. We're not spending more time together than usual. We also have 2 young children, 2 years and 8 months old. Celeste, stop. You bury the lead in this letter. Open
Mhm.
with, I have a 2-year-old and an 8-month-old, and I want to be alone. Period.
Yeah.
Signed, Celeste.
Also, just because you're essential workers and just because the outer trappings of your life haven't changed that much with COVID, it still emotionally has changed. The fact that things are so uncertain has got to be affecting you.
You know what else changed? 8 months ago, they had a second child.
Right.
I mean, that is, it is a time in your marriage where you go like, it's like the, Ecclesiastes, to everything, to every season.
Turn. Is this the
Turn.
birds?
Yeah, and then the birds, of course, covered the Old
Right.
Testament. And that there's a time in a marriage where it's going to grow, and that's not going to be when you have your second kid. That's going to be a time where you survive. That's going to be a time where you could grow closer on some levels, but you're not going to necessarily be jumping for joy about your marriage all the time. It's just not. It's survival time.
And you just double down. So it makes sense that there's a part of you that wants to flee. Like, this is just about putting in that, just getting through this tough time. I think the fact that when you hang out with your husband, you enjoy it and enjoy his company. That's all you need to know about the fact that like you're still in love with him. This, because I can relate to this. This is about, there's a part of yourself that you miss, that you want to get back in touch with. This is not about your marriage.
And I would suggest this as somebody that's been there, is I've never been there. I've never fantasized about leaving, but I've fantasized about other things that were unhealthy. And my therapist said to me, just fantasize about it. Enjoy the shit. Go, send everybody out, draw a bath, or go sit in a fucking room with your eyes closed and just imagine you're in a hotel and you ran away. You left everybody. You didn't even leave fucking food in the fridge. You just left, and just enjoy the shit out of that feeling for an hour and then get back to your regular life. It's like porn.
What? How? You
Well,
just
it's
enjoy
pretend.
it.
It's a
Yeah.
fantasy. It's a fantasy, and it can be you can live it can be cathartic in a way. You can
Right.
process, like, we're all horny. Do we really want to have a fucking 3-way with a couple runaways? I can't handle that. That's a lot of work. But if it's on my laptop, yeah, I can partake.
Well, what if they're not runaways? What if it was like a 3-way with like 2 sensible professional women? I'm not
You
propositioning
haven't
you,
been
by
monitoring my websites, have you? They run away from a far away.
All right. If you want to email us, childishpod@gmail.com. Do we have another one?
Was that a cry for help? Of like, please tell Greg to fucking rein it in.
No, it wasn't.
Blink twice if he's scaring you. Did we read this one? This is a great one, but my memory, this, Allison, and Mike Gibbons. I do it to Mike Gibbons on our Sunday Papers podcast. Is I'll read mail from the week before, and he said to me, he goes, Greg, are you the same guy that I did the podcast with last week? You were here, right?
Can we tell a behind the scenes story? I guess I probably should have asked you before. I think it'll be fine. What our old producer tweeted out the episode with like a little teaser about it, and you didn't like the teaser that he had used. And
No, of course I didn't.
And I'm like, Greg, you wrote that.
No, I didn't.
Yes.
There's no way I wrote microdosed in the teaser.
No, I wrote that.
Oh,
That's not what I mean. This was Dax, like our old producer.
A while ago. Yeah. That's entirely possible. But last week you wrote I mentioned that I was microdosing. on
You more
mushrooms.
than mentioned it. You talked about it at length and recommended it. So in no way
But-
did I get the sense this was top secret.
There is a you know this. My family does not listen to Childish, nor do they listen to Fist Dog Radio or Sunday Papers. They just don't. However, they're all following my social media feeds. They know whatever comes across my social media. So I don't want them knowing that I'm microdosing. There's some information that what happens on the podcast stays in the podcast.
I wrote Greg microdosed an hour before this episode because I'm like, that is fucking, it's true. It's interesting. It's clickbaity as hell. You want to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes. Apologies. I know about how you feel about these things because it has affected what we put out there. There's been all sorts of stories of threesome, maybe not threesomes, but there's been stories that you don't want served up on social media. It didn't even occur to me with this one because I think in my mind, microdosing is like not the same as doing drugs. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's how it is in my head.
I think I guess that would be a
Rationale.
No, that would be a distinction that might be lost on a teenager you're telling not to take drugs.
Yes. I see what you're saying. Well, anyway, I took it down really fast.
You took it down. I appreciate that. And my kids didn't see it. I don't know if they follow I don't think they follow the Childish Twitter feed, but they follow mine. So I wasn't going to post it.
But anyway, back to your memory.
So this one, stop me if I've read this.
Okay.
I'm writing to give more support for blowjobs for holidays. Years ago, I saw a meme on Facebook about steak and BJ Day. It's a made-up holiday on March 14th that, according to the post, if my husband were to, treat me well on Valentine's Day, then a month later, I would treat him to a steak and a BJ. I thought it was funny, so I mentioned it to my husband. Completely serious, he responded, "That's any guy's dream day." From that day on, a tradition was born. We don't celebrate March 14th, but every birthday and Father's Day, I wake him up with a blowjob and we have steak for dinner. Yes, you do, Rachel! I'm not stingy with the BJs. These aren't the only times he gets them, but anticipation is part of the fun, and I never have to stress about how to make his day special. Keep up the great podcasting. Rachel. P.S. My husband and I have been together for 24 years and have 4 children. This is only one of the ways we keep it hot in the bedroom. Rachel,
Rachel, you're quite a woman. Your husband is lucky.
But how hard is it? I mean, fuck the steak. Keep the steak.
Just
Don't even
BJ.
shop for the steak.
Steak and a BJ hold the steak.
Yeah,
It's a good idea.
it's a great idea.
Should we do t-shirts that say steak and a BJ? We're a parenting podcast. Steak and a BJ. We're a parenting podcast.
Steak and a BJ day. I mean, I don't know why that did not take off, but
It's not widespread enough.
March
People don't know
14th
about
is
it.
right around the corner, Allison. I'm going to bring it up with the wife.
March 14th is right around the corner. How?
In the sense that I can't wait for March 14th to come and for me to come. Everybody's coming on March 14th.
All
All right. Listen,
right.
let's get to, should we do a quick voicemail?
Yeah, let's
All
do it. Let me find it.
Why don't you tell people the number while you're looking?
I will do that, Greg. It is 805-317-4243.
Which spells out on your phone, steak and a blowjob.
That's right. Okay.
It's a long distance number. The French country code. What's the
Hi,
French?
my name is
Oh.
Rebecca, and I have just started getting into Childish, so I'm not sure if you guys are still doing the voicemails, but if you are, I do have a question. I didn't write it down or prepare, so I might get a little word vomity, but I don't have kids, but I am an aunt to a nephew and a niece, and they are my brother's kids, and my sister-in-law just isn't very hands-on with my side of the family, and I just, it's like they prioritize spending time with the mom's family rather than my family. And I think because I don't have kids, I'm kind of seen as like the aunt who isn't super responsible, even though I really am. So I was just calling to see how I handled that situation. It's evident to me that maybe it's because, the mom just has more control over what they do, but I also feel this like tinge of jealousy because I want to be just as involved in my niece and nephew's life as her side of the family is. So have either of you guys been through this before? And if you did, how did you handle it? Did you have a conversation with your in-law, or do you just like let it go? Thank you so much. I'm loving the podcast right now. It's getting me through a 16-hour drive, so I appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a good one.
Thank you for your call. So if I understand this correctly, it's her brother. She has nieces and nephews. It's her brother's kids, and the brother's wife, her sister-in-law, is kind of like in charge of what they do. And so they spend more time with the sister-in-law's side of the family than with her. And she doesn't like that.
That's what
you
it
said.
sounds like. I think that's
Yeah.
really good summing up there, Allison.
Thank you.
I think it's important that we listen to the call and then really distill it.
I would like to boil it down into a tweet. I'd like to turn each call into a tweet.
No, a TikTok. What if people, instead of listening to the show on YouTube, would just follow our TikTok accounts and they could see memes that we put up for letters and voicemails that come in.
I love it. I love it. That sounds
All right,
like
so
not
listen,
more work.
This is an issue that comes up for most couples. She's a step away from the actual couple having to deal with splitting holidays and family time. Here's what I would suggest, if I may.
You may.
Instead of fighting for real estate that already exists, create new real estate.
Steak and BJ Day.
Come up with a new holiday. It's not going to be Steak and BJ Day, but how about Auntie Day? Auntie Day every year is Labor Day weekend. Pick a weekend they don't normally have plans, and that's your fucking weekend. You plan it, you spend it with them, and you enjoy it. Maybe your whole family, maybe it's you got to create things, because I know with my sister's like closest person to me in the world outside of my wife and kids. And I love her husband, love her kids. And his family's great. But there are certain holidays that they have, like Thanksgiving, they have to be there. I would love them to come out one Thanksgiving. Never. They've never done it. Never come out for Easter. Like they're a very stay at home kind of a clan. They live in a town where they know everybody. They've been there a long time. And so I never worried about that. I never, we just said, we're going to come to you guys when we can. And we're going to embrace, we made up this trip we go to a lot with them upstate to my friend's house. They come to that, and you just kind of make the best of it. You can't keep score, because families have different dynamics. Some families are very traditional, very clingy, and you can say your piece, but for the most part, you're better off just make up your own holiday.
Yes, I think that's great advice. And I also just want to say, I don't actually know, but she's taking it personally, feeling like they must think she's irresponsible. It's possible, but it's also quite possible that that's not going on. And she knows her own family better. Like she obviously is close with her own family. So that ends up that they spend time with the kids a lot too. I think Greg is right. You just need to create opportunities for you to get close to them too and spend time with them too.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Settled.
Greg,
Done.
I think we did it again.
Historic show. First time we've streamed live.
I had a
Cannot
lot of
wait to
fun.
see the feedback. And I think we're going to do a little post-show chat.
Let's
with the
do a
people in the
post-show chat.
YouTube.
Yeah, let's do
But
that.
this won't be available to the people that are listening to the podcast, right?
No, fuck them. No, I'm just kidding. We love them. We
It's
could
a
make it a,
bonus for the people that made the effort to get on YouTube
Okay.
at a specific time.
all
I
right.
say we throw them a little extra.
Okay, so okay. But if you want to see this whole thing after the fact, it will be available on YouTube, youtube.com/Allison Rosen,
Beautiful.
right? Or
Yep.
are we gonna delete it from the archives forever? No, I think we can let them see it.
Okay.
They deserve to see. I put on makeup, and I have a new
You
backdrop.
look great,
so-
by the way. You really do.
Thank you. Thank you.
You got
Thank
your
you.
new backdrop in your office that kind of is a nice, sets you off nicely with your little rouge and your cheeks,
My little
your
rouge.
lipstick.
That was both anachronistic and patronizing, but I appreciate the compliment.
Your alabaster skin with your
Oh.
little.
Wait,
Yeah.
oh, my chocolate eyes flecked with gold. My dancing chocolate eyes flecked with gold. Oh, these old things. I have new lights in here though,
Yeah.
and I needed to get them, but the reason I got them, and I'm staring right at them, and it is way too bright, was because my friggin' old lights just stopped working one day.
Oh boy.
That's
Oh,
what
boy.
happens when you buy cheap lights on Amazon. Anyway, enough of that. Greg, we've done it again.
We've
They
done
said
it
we
again,
couldn't,
and we
but
will
we did
continue
it.
doing it. We'll continue listening to Allison Rosen as your new best friend.
Yes, please
Is
listen to
that-
Allison Rosen as your new best friend. I've been putting up the Monday episodes, the interviews on YouTube, youtube.com/Allison Rosen. Thursday shows go on my Patreon, patreon.com/Allison Rosen, and I'm on Cameo, cameo.com/Allison Rosen. What about you?
I will be doing Sunday papers every Sunday with Mike Gibbons, and then every Tuesday, Fitzdog Radio comes out, and now we're doing Thursday papers on
Nice.
Thursdays, and then also, God, I love doing cameos. They're fun. So if you want to hit me up for a birthday, holiday, maybe steak and a blowjob day, I will send out a message to you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Okay, and we'll catch you guys next time. I'm Greg Fitzsimmons,
I'm Allison Rosen.
and we are
Childish. Okay, I have turned my recording off.
All right, I'm turning my recording off.
Okay, let me head to the chat room.
Should I head there also?
Sure.
Or am I going to see it on your screen?
No, you won't see it on my screen. So just go to youtube.com/Allison Rosen and you should be able to see it. I think you have to be signed in. Kathy King says, I'm getting social anxiety knowing they're going to chat with us. What is happening here? I need to pop that out. What? Why is it not letting me do that? Am I not signed in? What is going on?
YouTube.
Or if you want, I can just read some comments.
Allison. Oh boy. There we go. All right, I'm on your page. Oh, live now. I'm going to click on
Yes.
it.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if that is going to take you to the beginning of the video, or tell me what you're seeing in the chat, on the side.
Oh, there's like a 5-second delay.
But are you seeing, like right now, Jesse Hightower said, caught the end of the show. I listen every week. Thanks, Jesse. Are you seeing this? Are you like synced up correctly on the chat? Good show, guys. We need this weekly. Greetings from Texas. I'm 23 with no kids, but I adore this podcast. You
Oh,
guys
I
are the
can read
best.
that. I don't know which one I'm supposed to close here.
Let's see. Thank you,
So
Damon.
I'm gonna hang up on our, wait, no, I can't do that.
You can't. Let's just see if there's any questions that I can find in here. If you guys have any questions, we're available for questions just for a little bit longer, but otherwise we'll just chat with you for a couple minutes. Let's see here. I'm scrolling up.
Oh, here's one. Have you thought about what you will do with O2's hair? With O2's hair? There's a question.
I haven't really. Elliot has thick hair that grows a lot. Owen has short hair still. He has much less hair than Elliot, although it's just beginning to, and it's very curly. But no, I haven't really thought about it. Like, it's not, the whole thing with Elliot's hair is like, it's not intentional. It's just that right now to cut it into a short little haircut feels, I don't know, like telling him how he's supposed to be or something. Don't you all know the moon is a hoax? I'm assuming that is a joke. Let's see, scrolling up.
Can I talk about my Owen's hair?
Yes, please.
All right, so Owen is obsessed with the layering of his hair. So we all sit in the backyard with a buzzer, and my wife goes number 2 around the ears, 3 here, and he's going like a 5 up top. And he lays out and tans and he works out, and he's kind of obsessed with his appearance right now. And then you got JoJo, who cuts her own hair once every 5 months and wears clothes that I throw in her room that I've outgrown. Not outgrown, outworn, that I'm no longer interested in. She could give a fuck. They call it a hesh, which is like a style for teenagers now. It's kind of like a skateboarder style.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's total abandon of caring. And she looks cute.
I think that's good. I wonder if she feels liberated. Well, I mean, I don't know what she would compare it to, but that sounds liberating to me. All right, let's see what this is. Oh, Aaron Adamak says, what's happening with Owen's fall semester of college?
Oh, you know, he was going to go back to Chicago and live in an apartment with some friends and go to school online. And then they told him he had to show up 2 weeks before classes would start, and he would have to be quarantined, where they brought meals to his room 3 days, 3 times a day. But he is the most hyperactive kid who could never sit still in a room for 2 weeks. So he bailed. And so he's going to stay in LA, and he's going to do his online classes from LA. He's got it fucking locked down here. He's got his own apartment in our guest house behind our house. He's got his own car. He's got like a bunch of his good buddies didn't go back to college. He's got a part-time job at a golf course that he fucking loves. He makes bank, and he loves us. He gets along with us. So it was kind of a no-brainer.
It will be really interesting to see sort of what the effect of this interruption of schooling is. And what if it turns out that everyone is actually in a better place than they were before because they got all this extra, like they got to take a break. I don't know if that's the case, but maybe.
Yeah, right.
Chris Auer, Greg, what do you have on the books for stand-up?
A lot of cancellations. Supposed to be in Phoenix this week. And then Chicago next month. I was supposed to be in San Diego next month. So everything's getting pushed for the time being. I think maybe October. I'm not really sure, but I can't wait. It's just like I'm dying. I think October 8th through the 10th, I'm in Cleveland. October 22nd through 24, I'm in Sacramento. So those will be the next dates to either happen or get canceled.
There was one that I saw. Oh, Kathy King says, what happened to Ray, Allison? So we haven't seen him in some time. Some of his tools are still here. We've sort of consolidated them, and Daniel realized that he could actually get rid of. Like a lot of it is just like old construction shit that he feels like if Ray had needed, he's not getting rid of anything Ray would want, but like old nails and stuff like that. So yeah, so Ray is still storing his shit at our house and we haven't seen him in a while. That's what happened to Ray. Let's see. Morgan Kinney says, question, my boyfriend wants a kid before marriage and I don't want one until after we would get married. We've been together a good amount of time. I'm in my early 20s and he's in his early 30s. Thoughts? I feel like if you don't want one till after you get married, that seems, well, I don't know. I guess the question is like, well, when are you gonna get married? Do you want to get married? And when's that gonna happen? What do you think, Greg?
I kind of spaced out for a second because I have two different audios happening. One is the audio from the YouTube stream and one is from the audio of you and I on the Zoom recording.
Oh, can you mute the YouTube audio?
That's what I just did, but I missed the
Okay.
question in the meantime.
Okay, the question is, Morgan says, my boyfriend wants a kid before marriage and I don't want one until after we will get married. We've been together a good amount of time. I'm in my early 20s. He's in his 30s. Thoughts?
Yeah, I got to default to the younger person on this one because he's been around longer and you've got so much more life to live that I think you need to do it on your terms. You know, I think that you don't want to be in a situation you're uncomfortable with and you're in your early 20s. Give it some time. If he's pressuring you, you might have to take some time away from him.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. I think we've done this again.
We
did
did it.
that again, and now we've done this again. Let's say good. excuse me.
Jeez, Alice.
Oh, what the hell? They don't want this. Let's
They
say
don't want
goodbye to
that.
them.
How are they going to get that out of their ears? I feel like there's gook in my ears right now.
I'm sorry. I phlegmed all of you. Listen, you guys, thank you so much for watching this historic first live Childish. This was really fun.
Yeah, thanks for showing up in the YouTube thing. I didn't know anybody would, so it's really cool that you did, and hopefully you'll do it again next week, and we'll always hang out for a little while afterwards.
That's right. Okay, bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
God bless.
Okay, let me